here in Singapore, also known as International Workers' Day worldwide, so I'd like to take the time to shout out some games that you can chill out to, since rest and relaxation is just as important as working hard towards your goals. So if you ever get stressed out by work, do dive into one of these to get your mind off things for a little bit. Let's begin with Elba, a wildlife adventure, one of the most wonderful, cozy games out there where you play as a little girl, determined to save an island and its wildlife. Everything from this game, from the way that the character moves, to the look and design of the world and exploration, to where she's helping animals is simply wonderful and is one of the best feel-good games out there. A curiosity from last year that you might have missed is Toem, a black and white photography adventure game that is simply wonderful. You basically pick up a camera and set off on an adventure, trying to help the people you meet along the way, taking the perfect shot for their purposes. These can be as simple as taking a promotional shot for a hotel, and it's this kind of slice of life, chill vibes that this game exudes, where I do hope that the monochrome is not a deterrent since it is pretty fantastic. I do love my city builders, which is why Islanders from 2019 got my attention, but it's quite a departure from games like SimCity or City Skylines, where there is certainly more of a puzzle element to this game. You're building cities on procedurally generated islands, having to put the correct buildings in close proximity to relevant ones in order to maximize your points. There is a scoring element where you need a certain number of such points to advance to the next level, but even if you fail, it's a go back to the start and try another round type of game, without the stress of an action roguelite, where this game has spawned a bunch of games in a similar space, but more on that later. At the time, Yonder, the Cloudcatcher Chronicles did have quite a novel concept, since this slow-life open-world title had you exploring a beautiful natural island to cleanse a plague from the land, but most refreshingly, has no combat at all. Combat is quite a crutch in game development since it is the most obvious thing to do, so to see a developer take a wild swing at this while still being able to make it fun and compelling is pretty neat. This developer has gone on to make the equally cozy Grow Song of the Evertree, but I do still prefer this game. If you're into indie games, you must have seen Townscaper by now, right? This wonderful little game captured the imagination of many, where perhaps game is not the right way to describe this, since the developer refers to it as a digital toy instead. You're simply building cities and towns according to the constraints of the game, where the place block sound effect is one of the main reasons why I think this is fantastic. A game that simply warms my heart is Wonder Song, a puzzle adventure game that is charming to the core, where you play as a bard, trying his best to save the world, not through wielding a sword and killing monsters, but through the power of song instead. The most interesting mechanic is the color wheel, which represents different notes, where singing in the context of this game can be used from everything like a talent show or to help plants grow. The platforming is a little iffy, but if you can get past that, it's a wholly wonderful title not to be missed. I love Slime Rancher to bits, which is why it always shows up on a list like this, where you're running such a ranch and have to capture and take care of slimes in order to get their poop, to sell for money, to get more upgrades, to catch more slimes, and so on and so forth. Through its early access, the developer did continually release major updates to the game, such that it is a feature and content-rich experience which has perfected the gameplay loop. While there are antagonistic slimes, the overall vibes of this does allow you to chill, and the monster taming fan in me always gets happy when I find a new slime. So if you have not tried this, please pick it up and look forward to the sequel releasing later this year. I always debate with myself on whether or not to put My Time at Portia on a list like this, since while 80% of the game is wonderful and wholesome, there is more of a combat focus, so it's not exactly stress-free, but something that I thought I should cover. You know the drill, you arrive at a new place, taking over the rundown workshop of your grandfather and have to restore it to its former glory. There's farming, fishing, mining, and animal husbandry, with a whole cast of characters to befriend and romance as well. The twist here is that it is not a farming game per se, but one where it is more about being a craftsman, making items in bulk to sell, or to repair bridges across the island. There are, however, straight-up combat dungeons in this, which is the non-relaxing part, but everything else fits in nicely, making it another immersive game that you can get lost in. At this point, Abzu is getting up there in age, being about 5+ years since release, but this underwater adventure game is pretty much unrivaled in this space. It has you exploring a beautiful underwater landscape, from marveling at the beauty of schools of fish to swimming with whales and exploring ruins. There are sections of the game which are a little stress-inducing, especially the further and deeper down you go, but as a whole, it is still a must-play in my opinion. I was excited to make this video since we do have a significant number of new entries, with the beautiful behind the frame, the finest scenery being the title of interest here. As you can see, it is a beautifully drawn and animated title about an aspiring painter trying to complete her masterpiece, but the visuals do resemble a Ghibli movie, which makes it stand out. It is an emotional tale that will leave a mark, but again, something slow and paced that is perfect to unwind to. Farming sims and relaxing games do go hand in hand, where one that I must mention is Littlewood, one that, relatively, is a little under the radar but is awesome and a must play. It takes place in a fantasy world where it has already been saved from the villain and is now simply about rebuilding. Of course, there's farming, fishing, mining, and crafting elements, where a wonderful aspect is that time in this game only ticks down when you do something, alleviating the time pressure that does stress some people out. The pixel art looks fantastic, so if you have not checked this out, I would encourage you to do so. One trend that I appreciate in indie games is that of the digital toy, something that you can play and mess around with without having the commitment of being a game in quotes. And like Townscaper earlier, another excellent example is The Ramp. This is a skateboarding title where you can pull off sick tricks, but there are no points to worry about, being the definition of a flow state game. A Short Hike is one of the best and most freeing games out there, about a relatively simple story of trying to get to the top of a mountain to get a cell signal, but it's such a small, well-crafted experience that has to be mentioned. I love the look of this game, which is a little bit lo-fi but not to the PS1 extreme, but the gliding mechanics and mini-games in this are a delight, resulting in a very pleasant experience. Surprise! Some of you might have missed the 1.0 release of Dofromantic, so now that it is fully released, it qualifies for a list like this, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to make this video. Like Islanders mentioned near the start of this video, it's a relaxing city builder that has you placing tiles down on a map, where there are proximity effects as well, with bonus points when relevant tiles are placed near each other. It does come to us from a team of 4 pretty young German developers who met while studying, where this is their first commercial title and is already a tremendous success, so I'm excited to see what's next from them. One of my all-time favorite indie games is Stardew Valley, so for the hours and hours of entertainment and escape it has provided me, of course it deserves a spot. I believe that enough has been said about this game at this point, but everything about this is excellent and up my alley, from the pixel art, characters, writing, farming mechanics, variety, and especially the music, so the baseline experience is already fantastic. Keen-eyed viewers that are familiar with the game may have realized that I'm not actually using footage from the vanilla game, but rather one of the more extensive mods known as Stardew Valley Expanded, where of course the modding community behind this game is one of the best. However, if you're more comfortable with the original, since we last took a look, the developer released the version 1.5 patch, which added a whole new island and farm to explore, where it does kind of wrap up Stardew Valley's endgame, but Concerned Ape is non-committal about whether or not this will truly be the end or final version of the game. With its next title, Haunted Chocolatier, being in development, I do think that Stardew Valley has to sit and marinate for a little bit, which is where modders come in, hence the use of this trailer. There is combat in this, and the fishing can get pretty stressful, but the compelling day-to-day gameplay loop and the slow or farm life aspect does really appeal to me, taking the number 1 spot. For more relaxing titles, watch these videos and I will see you after the jump.